Welcome to Salcedo Paranormal. It is Sunday, September 11th, 2022, and tonight I'll be sharing true paranormal stories from the web. As always, you can find all the episodes of the show along with links to social media, ways to donate, and ways to contact me at at the podcast page, salcedoparanormal.podbean.com. That's SALSIDO paranormal.podbean.com. Always happy to hear from you all, whether you have comments or questions or topic suggestions for shows, or if you have stories of paranormal experiences, whether they're your own or from others that you trust. Always happy to either read them on the show or have you join me on the show to talk about them. And so the plan for the week as of now is the true paranormal stories from the web tonight, paranormal news tomorrow night, more true paranormal stories from the web on Tuesday, and then possibly a show with Derek on Wednesday, covering just the various ways throughout history and throughout popular culture that we've been contacted by aliens, whatever they may be, possibly. And then more paranormal news on Thursday. So that's the plan for the week. And thank you all, as always, for being here, for listening, whether you're here for the live stream or whether you listen to the podcast or YouTube feeds. I always appreciate it either way. So, I guess I can get to the stories. I found these just literally tonight, about 2 hours before, well, not even that, hour and a half before stream started here. So they're about as fresh to this show as they can get. So I have a few, and I'll share those, and then we'll see what we think. So, let's see here. All right. So it looks like I can get going with this, and I will do that. So I did just, unfortunately, didn't have time to read these completely tonight. I kind of just skimmed them as much as I could, so hopefully, I'll still be able to get through them. But anyway, so this first one says, "This is something that happened to me when I was about 15 years old and was staying at my friend's house. I still get spooked just thinking about it, and I thought I might share it here." And this is from a website that has these kinds of stories, among other things. So anyway, this one says, "I think it was a Saturday when we were watching old movies, playing video games, or whatever, when he, my friend, suggested that we go for a walk in the forest near his house. I was bored and thought, why not? He said there was some old abandoned house in the woods, which I had never been to or heard about before. I thought that was pretty cool, and he told me he could show me around. We headed out, and I brought a flashlight because it was getting dark. We walked through a trail surrounded by some unusually tall trees. This trail was getting deeper and deeper into the woods. It was soon not much more than tall grass, stones, and trees. We had walked for around 30 or 40 minutes when it started getting really dark. I think I asked him if he was sure we were going the right way, when I suddenly noticed a small Dutch colonial style house peeking out behind the trees. Excuse me. It was white, and I think it had some kind of porch in front of it. It appeared deteriorated and abandoned from the outside. I turned around and noticed that my friend wasn't there anymore. I thought he was playing around with me, So I just casually kept walking towards the house and pretended like I didn't care. I looked through one of the windows and didn't see anything, but I heard a distinctive sounding giggle from above me. The weird thing is that it definitely sounded like a middle-aged woman laughing, not like my friend. Excuse me. I was a bit frightened and called out my friend's name, and he didn't answer. I was scared and angry, so I yelled his name really loud. The next thing that happened is only what I can describe as all heck broke loose. I heard a woman crying and wailing loudly and letting out these deep, horrifying guttural screams. I didn't even know where it came from, but I was too terrified to do anything besides running, and I ran straight through the woods. Occasionally, I tripped over rocks and trees, and I cut up a big scar on the back of my lower leg. I reached the road after running for what I think was maybe 15 minutes, and some car stopped by. The guy was nice enough to drive me home and asked me if I needed help because I was bleeding all over. Here's the kicker, though. I checked my phone, and my friend had sent me 2 messages asking me why I left and where I was. I was happy that he was alive, and I asked him if he was still in the woods. He didn't know what I was talking about and said he'd been at home the whole time. I thought I was joking, but I saw that the first 2 messages were sent around the time when we should have been in the woods already. It's been many years since then, and we are not hanging around anymore. But he maintained for a long time that he didn't go into the woods with me, and that he was home the whole time when I suddenly just left without warning while he was in the bathroom. He said that he didn't know about any house in the woods either. My mind would go to more rational explanations if it wasn't for for the fact that he messaged me asking where I was while we were still out in the woods. So that is quite the story. Um, if it did go the way it seemed to go, and if it was really, that does seem almost like a story from a horror movie in a way, but I've heard stranger stories, so I don't really want to just discount that story at all either. Um, seems like maybe someone copied his appearance and voice, possibly to get this writer, to go with them out into the woods, um, to see this place, maybe, especially if he didn't know, um, about it. So really wild story there. That's quite the experience to have. Um, so yeah, I just had to share that one because that's, like I said, something out of a horror movie in a way. Um, I if it had gotten more horror movie, if it had gotten to where the writer was severely hurt, I mean, I know that they got scraped and everything, but or got a cut, but still, if it would have gotten much worse than that, then maybe I would have suspected more of a made up story because you never know when with these websites. But the rest of the details, I mean, it's not that far out that something weird could have happened, and that went down the way the writer says it went down. So really a wild story there. But yeah, I don't know what to make of that other than someone wanted the writer to find that house and be there for some reason or other. I don't know. So, um, but so I guess I'll go on to the next story here, and we'll go from there. So let's see here. All right. This one says, I'm generally a skeptic about these kinds of things. Not necessarily saying it doesn't happen to anyone, but I rather examine other potential answers before arriving at a conclusion or considering other possibilities. Still, this is a bit curious to me. At the last apartment we lived in, my girlfriend and I shared the living room with with desks facing each other. Oh, our desks facing each other. It said OR. That didn't make sense. Our desks facing each other. Her desk faced the bedroom, front door. Mine faced the kitchen, bathroom, closet. During the whole time we were there, she would see, if I can talk, a shadowy figure out of the corner of her eye enter or leave the bedroom. Obviously, when she told me this, it disturbed me. I pondered a few different ideas, but couldn't really come to anything. I know humans are more sensitive to motion and shadows, contrast on the periphery of their vision, but I don't know what could be creating the sensation of movement or shadow. Apparently, the shadow was usually going inside the room. While we didn't ask if she died, a neighbor said that the resident before us was an older woman who was sad because her kids never visited. The idea of having an unknown figure watching me as I slept was extremely disturbing. Although my girlfriend said she didn't feel any sensation of threat or malice. She has had a few paranormal encounters in her life, objects thrown across empty rooms in reportedly haunted buildings, seeing ghosts on more than one occasion, having an intense vision of a tragedy in great detail, which she could not have possibly known about beforehand and only learned about after researching the vision. And I've fortunately been spared. She also grew up in a part of the country that is older and has more history, in quotes, to it. Whereas where I grew up in younger, although, is younger, although not exactly young. I'm having all kinds of hard times reading and talking tonight. Anyway, says that apartment building was only built in 1995, so it's not like it's some ancient complex. We only lived there a year, and we've never encountered anything similar before or since. So I like that one in a way because it just seems like possibly the previous owner going through their motions of going through the apartment. And so maybe the girlfriend of that that apartment, the girlfriend of the writer there, was just picking up on them. Um, so really a neat story there. Glad that it wasn't anything um, dangerous or negative and like that. I'm always happy when I find those stories where it's just something weird, not necessarily something bad. So, um, but yeah, neat story there. And so not much more to say on it. Just some kind of apparition, and of course, whether it was the spirit of the woman or again some kind of a time anomaly, some kind of a vision of the past. Hard to say, but yeah, neat little story there. So, um, oh, Derek, hello, I see you there. But yeah, so neat story. The first one, just real quick, Derek, we want to go back and listen to the beginning of the show once it comes out. Man, that first story is wild. So, but anyway, I have one more here to share, and that'll be it for the night. So, let's see here. This one is really amazing too. Um, so this is a true story. So I moved out of my mom's and with my grandma when I turned 17. I'm now 22. When I moved in, I positioned my bed to face my bedroom door, and I often stayed awake quite late, like any other teen. One night, I had just turned off my TV, but my bedroom light was still on, and my door was open, so I could see perfectly into the hallway and the middle of the stair landing. I was sitting on my um sitting, I guess, on the bed, maybe. So sitting on my phone. I don't think they were sitting on their phone. Sitting there on my phone and saw something out of the corner of my eye coming from the bathroom side of the hallway. The bathroom is right next to my room. Then it went to my grandma's room and then the spare bedroom. I looked up and saw a man with blonde hair and a trench coat, along with some sort of boots on and dark trousers. He was pale looking, uh, and he looked like a mess, covered in dirt and everything. I freaked out, thinking someone had broken in and was going to hurt my grandma and grandpa. So I grabbed the closest thing to me, which was a book, and started to get out of bed to try to chase him out of the house. When he was walking down the stairs and he got to the middle part of them, he turned to look at me and smiled. I asked who he was and what he was doing in my house. He continued to walk downstairs. However, at the bottom of the stairs, the light from my bedroom stopped, so it was pitch black when I ran down and turned on the light, and he disappeared. His face was flawless apart from some dirt. His eyes were a stunning blue color, not too dark but not too light. He had no stubble or facial hair, but he had freckles. I double-checked all the doors and windows to make sure they were all locked and went back to sit in my bed to try to comprehend what I saw. I've always believed in the afterlife and spirits, so I had two thoughts. Either I was so tired, I imagined him, or he was an actual ghost. I spoke with my grandma the next morning to see if anyone had died in the house before. She asked if I saw someone, to which I replied yes. She then asked what they looked like, and I described the man I saw. She then told me to sit down because she had a story to tell me. She said that one day her, my dad, uncle, and grandpa were sitting in the living room, and my dad and uncle were sitting on one couch, and my grandpa and grandma on the other. She was reading a book and looked up and saw a man standing behind my dad, smiling down at him. And it was as if he knew him and was proud of him. Then he just walked out of the living room and disappeared. And she told my grandpa, and he checked the house, and no signs of anyone else in the house. She then described him, and everything matched up with my description. We have seen him a few more times, and I have recently moved out, but when I was telling my grandpa I was moving in with my fiancée, I felt so warm and calm, and my grandma said she saw him in the doorway. I go back and stay every so often, and whenever I do, I just feel like he is watching me. Nothing sinister or evil has ever happened in that house, and anyone that walks into it just feels warm and calm. So I like to think this ghost has been protecting my family and house for years. And then it says, update. I was speaking to my grandma about this ghost, and she said my cousins were up last week, who are very young, twins that are 3 years old, and they ran downstairs giggling, saying they were playing with the nice man, and he was going to catch them. But my grand said that they weren't scared or anything. They were playing and happy. So that's the end of that story. Um, and that's quite a lot of sightings. Um, a lot of people seeing these different things, or these the same thing. I'm sorry. And having experiencing its experiences. So, um, I really thought that was amazing that this entire family had these sightings. Reminds me in a way of my my grandparents, what used to be my grandparents' house and the original owner. I mean, my grandma and my dad and I and my cousin all saw this same figure at different places in the house at different times, and never got any bad feelings from her. So, really neat story there. It seems like even more than just a couple people. So I really wonder too, though, when those two kids, if they're 3 years old now, I wonder how much they'll remember of that 17 years or more, even 10 years or more down the line. Um, but still, neat story there, and I like those that last one, really, the last couple really, I thought were really amazing. The first one was pretty that one was frightening in a way, but still amazing. But these last two, I thought they were neat examples of, yeah, the paranormal without it being terrifying. So, anyway, um, I believe that takes care of all the stories for tonight, so thank you all for listening and for being here, and, I'll be back tomorrow night with, paranormal news. So until then, I'll talk to you all then on the next episode of Salcedo Paranormal. Take care, everyone.